Welcome to the Business Legends Podcast, where we interview business leaders and entrepreneurs so that you can learn from their successes, become inspired, and meet the people that make change happen. I'm the host of the show, Reese Arlen, along with my co-host, Christian Webb. Say hello. Say
Glad to be here. Glad to be here.
Who did not mess me up this morning, which, I don't know, it only takes me about 70-something podcasts to get it right. But today, we are accompanied by an amazing man, David Preston with PeopleSuite. David, thank you so much for joining us.
It is great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So let's dig right into it. Tell our listeners what PeopleSuite is and how long you've been a company for.
All right, well, I'm going to start by messing you up a little bit.
Oh, no.
Here we go. You ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
Your intro said you can learn from my successes, but
Mm-hmm.
I really think that the best learning lessons in life are from my failures.
Interesting.
That's the place where I've got the meatiest offerings and experience shares to give.
Yeah,
to,
there's a
to
reason
your audience.
he's patting me. I'm sorry, I have to jump in here. So our original intro for Business Legends, first 30 or so shows,
Yep.
our original intro was so that you can learn from their mistakes.
Yeah.
And then Christian was like, "No, that's too negative. People will hate that." And so now, things come full circle, baby.
Sorry, buddy.
You are my new favorite guest. So please continue. So failures.
Yeah, I just think that we had a little conversation before this. I'm trying to do this thing this year actually started last year, where I set up artificial challenges in my life. And I'm now actually doing this for my kids as well. I've got twin 12-year-olds and a 6-year-old. And the goal is to create an outdoor challenge that's hard as hell that I have to train for. And even if I do it perfectly, there's only a 50% chance of success. So I'm doing some crazy things. Some of my forum mates within the Entrepreneurs Organization are also going through this kind of challenge-based annual thing. And failure's okay. What you learn is that you wake up the next morning, it's like, wow, I tried really, really hard. I'm proud of my accomplishments, and I'm still alive. Like, that's okay to fail.
So can you give us an example of that? So when you're saying like really hard outdoor stuff, I'm thinking like a Spartan race or like like stuff like that. Is that
Sure.
what we're
No,
talking
it's
about?
not at all.
Well, let's go into it. What is it exactly? If you can share, I mean.
Yeah. I think it depends on what you need. What's a challenge for you?
Okay.
For you, it'd be a Spartan race. For him, it's a 120-mile race.
What?
Across grueling mountainscapes.
So my challenge, I've never run more than 5 miles in my life.
Like on a motorcycle?
So I signed up for the Fonta Flora race on Lake James.
Whoa,
and it's
okay.
a half marathon and a 50K mountain bike race. I've never gone that far in either. But
Yeah.
So I know I'll have to train. It's going to be hard as hell. It's 2 days. And I'm going to camp out in between. And I'm going to train for it and give it everything I've got.
Wow.
And I may not be able to do it. I don't know. But
Yeah.
if I can, I'm going to try. And I'm going to give it everything I got. It's amazing when you put these challenges in front of yourself, like how much more you're willing to like dig deep into your reservoir of grit and resilience to push yourself through.
Yeah.
One of the gentlemen, Mario, I think he maybe have been on your podcast before.
Mendigana.
Yeah, I mean, he had never run a marathon and didn't really train for a marathon. Successfully ran a marathon last year.
Wow.
And that was his misogi is what we call them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's just important. Failure's fine. Failure's where you learn and where you kind of reset your expectations and try again, try to climb the mountain again.
Yeah, that's incredible. So
I'm going to sign up for this race, and if I win, if I beat you, I get the
Come
hat.
on.
I get the hat.
You
The hat?
You can have the hat.
the hat. That was. He did not put up very much resistance. For
He was
that
like, "You can have this." He's like, "I have
"It's
7
all
of
good."
them."
You
Like-
get another one of these.
Yeah.
But you can have the hat.
Yeah, that's incredible. So, PeopleSuite. So, tell us about your company and how it came to be, and all the above.
Yeah, so business was a family-owned business.
Okay.
There's different paths into entrepreneurship. For my first few years, I would even tell you that I felt a bit as almost like a fraud as an entrepreneur, saying I was an entrepreneur because my business was actually founded by my father. Now since then, I bought him out and he's retired, and I've been leading and running the organization for almost 5 years independently now. But lots of ways to enter a business. My father founded this about 20 years ago. We do executive retained search, we do contingency direct hire, staffing, a lot of HR consulting like behavioral assessments and tools of the like. And we provide people-related services across a suite of offerings, and thus the name PeopleSuite.
What a perfect name.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it used to be called Preston and Partners. So
Okay.
I struggled with this.
And you were David Preston,
I'm
so I
David
understand.
Preston. My dad was Gary Preston, and I struggled having my name on the business. And I think it's really important as you begin to build out a business that it can stand up without you in it. That's where value creation is. And otherwise, if you were at the center of all the activities in your business and your name is on it, is that a sellable asset? And so part of this, taking the ego out of it, taking my name off of the. For me, this is my individual journey. I'm not judging others, but for me, I wanted to. It was kind of symbolic of my extraction from the business, and it delivered a message to my team. So that was part of my journey in getting to where I am today.
It's interesting because one of the things that I've learned just in this show is that you meet all these entrepreneurs, and I think all of us kind of have like an internal fire of sorts, and that fire is the same fire, right? And then from that fire is like all kinds of different pathways, right? Because I'm sure there's also people. Because I was thinking about, I wonder if I can think about like a huge company that has the namesake of the founders, and I was like, oh well, Johnson and Johnson or something like that,
Sure.
So it's
Procter and Gamble,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think that it's the one size fits all or one shoe fits all. But I want to get back to what you said about
They also didn't build to sell either.
right. True.
Yeah. Those are generational legacy businesses that. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to get back to what you said about it being kind of a benchmark of sorts. I don't want to put words in your mouth or anything, but the symbolic nature of removing your name from that. What kind of cultural impact did that have? And this was 5 years ago, you said, when you changed your name, or
So we had a couple different product offerings. So Preston Partners, we did retained executive search. We had a lot of head trash in our own business with the team members that if we launch a contingency product, would that dilute the brand that we built on the retained side?
Right.
It's if we're telling our clients, you're going to pay us retainers along the way to execute a search. And by the way, over here, we're going to do it for free, and you're only going to pay us if we're successful. Does that damage our ability to sell a retainer-based model? What we found, and for that reason, we set up separate businesses independent of each other. PeopleSuite on the contingency side, and Preston and Partners on the retained side. And after a couple years managing different brands, managing 2 websites, and very difficult to communicate the messages to the client. Oh yeah, we have this company over here that does this, and we have that company over there that does that. We decided to merge the businesses, and that occurred in January of 2019 to really kind of finally pull the Band-Aid off. We are PeopleSuite. We have a suite of offerings. And what we found was that all that head trash was just that. It was our head trash. And our customers understood the need for engaging on a retained level, and they understood the need to engage on a contingency direct hire. And we weren't giving them enough credit. They understood the model. They understood the needs for each of the products. And now we're trying to deliver different service offerings across all of our client base.
That's incredible because the fact that the result might be somewhat similar between the type that you're offering, but it's kind of the contract structure that's different, I suppose.
It is.
Do you have much? This is just probably for my own curiosity. Our listeners are probably bored to death of this question, but do you have much crossover? So do you have like companies that they're retained and then they want to try this thing out on a contingency and so on and so forth?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we've built the teams independent of each other. So there are people that are really good at making this widget.
Yeah.
And then we have a really good team that making that one and delivering that product. But the cross-sell opportunity is huge. That's part of why we wanted to do it. It was difficult, so I'm not going to tell you it was easy to kind of pull that Band-Aid off. If you've got imagine being a sales guy, you've got a great customer, your best customer for the last 5 years. He's produced a lot of your personal commissions.
Sure.
Really difficult to say, hey, let me bring this other team over here that I'm not really, I hear they're doing good work, but you really want to introduce that relationship and that product to your relationship that you fostered. So breaking down that barrier was really challenging. That was probably the biggest cultural shift that was required in the business to really effectively cross-sell across the platforms. As with most things, I find a really good referral-based incentive platform.
Sure.
Was able to finally get people like, okay, wow, this is actually lucrative if I make the referral. So we were able to, with a well-designed referral platform, make that happen. And all of a sudden, now we've got customers across the country. That engage us at the executive level for this, and we have a team that if they need a VP of HR at the corporate office, great, retained product.
Yeah.
If they need a store manager or a financial analyst, they can sit down. We have 2 independent teams that execute the work. It works.
Yeah, that's incredible. I think it goes back to like not one shoe fits all. I mean, you have these different product lines because you need them. You need to have a different offering for people.
We got to meet our customer where they are.
Yeah.
And so if I were to say, if all we were going to do is do a retainer-based model, and they came to us and said, hey, I need a store manager. Can you do that for me? I say, no, all we do is retained work.
Right.
They're hiring another search firm to come into our client and execute that work.
Yeah. And what if they offer both too? Then you lose the client, Yeah. Sometimes.
So we needed to meet the customer where they are. And just the fact is that most of our corporate clients are playing in both spaces.
Right.
And so Yeah, that's kind of how this all came
It's
about.
crazy to think about because when I look back on like the choices we've made as a company, we have made the choice to work with medium to large size small businesses, if you know what I mean. Because the government says $500,000 is still a small business.
500 million.
500 million,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Which I think is a joke.
Right.
Like literally, that means everybody I know is a small business.
Pretty much.
It's a huge business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But our focus and like when you say you need to meet them where they are, we just stopped supplying to the smaller business when they came in. But you found a way to still make that position profitable even when they couldn't afford the retainer.
Yes. Now, we were very careful about it. We stood up PeopleSuite as a separate business and proved the model. We built it from scratch. And we wanted to do it differently than what we saw happening in the marketplace. So all we were doing was this really high-level boutique, high-touch service to bigger companies, Fortune 500, a lot of retail, consumer products, manufacturing. And we weren't really even sure. I didn't want to introduce a product to those really good customers unless I was confident that we could do it. So for 2 years, we didn't cross-sell anything. And we built a whole team around it, built it from scratch on its own service offering. It had its own sales group. And then once we became very, very comfortable, that's when we started cross-selling. In hindsight, I should have done it faster. Again, this gets back to me managing my own head trash, managing my business partner's head trash, and our team, and managing that culture.
We're going to steal that saying, by the way.
Head trash. I know. I love it.
It's already stolen.
You talk yourself into reasons not to do things.
Right.
And I think the question that we try to ask every day, anytime an issue comes up or a new search comes up, what's in the best interest of the client? Like that's the question that's kind of got to be our guiding light as we face challenges in our day-to-day business.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a question that, ashamedly, I haven't really asked many of our clients or any of our Business Legends guests lately. But where do you see your industry, your line of work going over the course of the next 10, 15, 20 years?
Can I change your question a little bit?
Sure.
I think there's going to be more change in the next 12 months than we've had in the last 12 years.
Wow.
AI and what's happening for all service-based businesses.
Yeah.
It's scary, and you got to be on the front of the curve. And there's a lot of iterations that are happening with AI, like small, kind of gimmicky, like here's a solution that you can do. And we're implementing some of those right now, but it's the more complex solutions that are, all right, if that can happen, can this happen? Can that happen? The more complex solutions that folks offer, leveraging the language models and new software platforms, they're going to revolutionize our business.
For sure.
And it's going to be happening extremely rapidly.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. We use, all search firms use an applicant tracking system to store all of our resumes and our candidates and such. In 3 hours, day before yesterday, built a private server basically holding all of our resumes that's attached to a language model. I can just run a language query on it. So no more Boolean search. I mean, Boolean search, I don't think I'm going to say right now on this podcast, this will be the last time I ever say Boolean search. It's not required, and it's a difficult thing to train on the teams. Now it's like stream of consciousness. You run it. I need a candidate with 2 years of experience in this marketplace with managing this number of people and with a college degree. Hit a button and boom, it produces your resumes that are in your database instantly.
Wow.
Told you the search is gone, man.
You can't see it, but he's smiling from ear to ear right now.
I've been saying search is gone for a while now because as soon as like something like gets as smart as like ChatGPT 4 or better, all of a sudden it knows you. It knows who you are as a human, and you just go, hey, what's that restaurant I love so much down in South End? And it's like, oh, you're talking about Mamma Mia's? Yeah, you should book a reservation like you normally do on Fridays. Is 7 still good?
Yeah.
Like that's gonna happen instead of me going, what's the best place to eat Italian food in South End?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. It's
and down to the platform level, like you're talking about, and a more like precision tool like that.
Yeah.
It's going to completely change how we do every single process in our business. Now, I think there are service-based businesses that are going to have significantly more challenges than maybe ours. I have a close friend of mine that trains engineers how to write SOPs for manufacturing equipment.
Wow.
Engineers don't really write well. And he's got a sizable, 7-digit business. I mean, I was
going to say.
it's a good business, but literally now you can plug in the manual and write an SOP for this process, hit a button, and it's done. Like you don't need his business training engineers on how to do that writing won't be required anymore.
Yeah.
And that's that's dead in the next few months, not
Right.
in the next few years. So
Whole
all
business.
of these, it's a whole business. So as entrepreneurs in the space thinking about like, what do I want to do? I'm teaching my kids right now. They both want to be entrepreneurs, and I'm like, well, you may want to do something that involves a trade because
Yeah.
we're going to need plumbers, we're going to need electricians, we're going to need mechanics and things that require hands. And owning the business is you're still an entrepreneur. But learn a trade. It's going to be just moving so fast. I'm almost scared for them entering this marketplace right now, trying to be an entrepreneur. It's moving so quickly.
Yeah, I bring up to him on a regular basis that we should buy
Regular
a commercial
basis.
construction company, because I talk to commercial construction contractors all the time.
Yeah.
And they're telling me that their entire industry is aging out.
Oh yeah. Average age of a plumber is over 50 years old.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Plumbing owner.
opportunity.
Yeah.
Yes.
Over 50.
Yes. It's plumbers, electricians. The dirty jobs. It's everything that you watch on that television show. That those are going to be the opportunities I think that are really meaningful and impactful. And there's going to be a massive shortage.
And they're naming their price.
Yes.
Yeah, I was in a group with a gentleman. I'm not gonna say his name because he was sharing some private stuff, but he was basically saying he was booked out for like the next 16 months at the highest dollar he possibly could.
Yep.
And his only trouble at all is how many people can he find to fill the positions to take care of the work.
Insane. Insane.
I'm like, well, that sounds like a great business.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I have a strange question for you. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No. But just to put a bow on it, the landscape for entrepreneurship, choosing businesses, where do they go? Like, I think it's really, really difficult and it's scary. Service-based business, accountants, lawyers. Why do you need an accountant anymore? Load the tax code in, load your prior tax returns. press a button. It's going to be, everything is going to change. All the processes and back office stuff is just going to get wiped out.
Lucky for us, accounting will change very slowly because they have to report to the government. And the government changes like every 30 years. They have to integrate
we love
with the
you, government. Don't come after us.
We know how you work.
So here's my my super strange question for you.
All right.
You mentioned that your children, you have two twins that are 12 and one that's 6. You said, I believe.
Actually, I said 6. Habitually, he turned 7 yesterday.
Oh, there you go. So, well, happy birthday to them. But you said that they want to be entrepreneurs. Do you want them to be?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I was a banker for the first 15 years of my career. And like I said, I got a phone call. I remember I was sitting, I was grilling in my driveway, and my dad called me and said, hey,
Nice.
I had sowed my own oats. I had proven myself. I was a senior VP at one of the largest banks in the country at 30 years old. And so I had done well early in my career, and he came and said, look, I want to scale this thing. I can't do it. I was managing sales teams, kind of the operations behind the revenue, and managing sales teams. And he said, come help me scale this thing and build this thing. And that was kind of my entrepreneurial journey. Being a banker, it was all about, all right, what's the risk? I've got 2 young kids at this time, and it was, the banker hat was still on very strong.
Sure.
What I've found is that it's like completely liberated me. I showed up to work every day, in a suit and tie 5 days a week for 14 years. And you see what I'm wearing now. I'm in a sweatshirt and a ball cap.
Yeah. By the way, how are you wearing a sweatshirt? It's like 100 degrees outside.
It's a little chilly this
He's
morning.
like your
A little chilly
relative.
this
Yeah,
morning.
we must be related or something because I'm very cold-natured like that too. Anyways, so yeah.
So for me, all of my passions now today and the things that I pursue are in entrepreneurship. I love this life. I love that I can impact my family and my bottom line with my brain, my grit, my work ethic. They put me against anybody. I'm confident enough, and I'll work hard enough to say I'm gonna beat 99% of the people you put in front of me, and just because of how I'm gonna attack the problem and my effort. Nobody's gonna out effort me. So I would rather have that mentality and that chance of success to really do something that's not just like getting paid. It's actually creating wealth. And so I want that for my kids. I think it's an ideal life.
For sure. What was the? I want to dig a little bit into the process. So I would go so far as to say at 30, you have the senior VP position at the bank.
Yep.
I would go so far as to say you were probably comfortable. You were comfortable with the position, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Happy, comfortable, family, kids, all
Sure.
the optics.
White picket fence. Yeah, sure.
I had it all.
So your dad calls you, and what made you take that plunge? Because that entrepreneurial plunge, that leap of faith, is one of the things that I think's most critical for that fire to start, for it to get sparked.
Sure. There's always more behind the story, right? So
Sure, of
this
course.
is 07, 08, real estate crisis, kind of coming out of the dot-com. Actually, was that the dot-com boom? When we were entering the recessionary environment in 08, I'm getting moved into a production role into what's called REO in a bank, which is the bad guys at the bank that are foreclosing and collecting and doing all that. So
Sure.
when with the cycles, when things are good, you're selling and doing deals, and when things are bad, you're collecting and suing and
Right.
under guarantees. And we were in that bad cycle, so the timing hit me good. It's like, God, this is just miserable.
Yeah. Making
it's
tough phone calls every day. It
Tough
sounds
phone
like.
calls,
Yeah.
getting deposed all the time. So
Yeah.
it was an easy decision for me from a timing perspective. It was like, you know what, if there's ever a time in my life to take a leap, this is it.
Yeah.
My kids are still young. I think the longer you wait, the more difficult some of these decisions become, particularly as, kids don't get cheaper over time. Life never gets cheaper, right? I mean, think
Sure.
about how simple life was when you were, you could make ends meet on a low salary when you were 22. It's amazing. So life gets complicated. I think things get harder the longer you wait.
$2,000 a month was like the most money I'd ever had in my entire life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember my first job was $32,000 a year. I thought I was rich coming out of college. I bartended nights, and so I just cash in my pocket constantly.
Never out of money.
I had roommates. We were, it was
Yeah.
it was awesome. Life was simple, and the older you get, the more complex.
Then you have to
things get.
complicate it with ambition.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly, and house payments and car payments and all
Everything
that
else.
Stuff. So yeah, I think jump now. There's no time like now to do it, especially if you're young and there's the cost of failure is low.
Yeah.
And failure is fine. I just failed. We just had a massive, I don't say massive failure, but
It was massive. It was catastrophic.
it was like we basically just threw in the towel. I think we're in the midst of a 2-year build out of SaaS platform, and it just, you chase it, you invest in it, you think you got something, it didn't work out, and we're like, all right, what's next? How do we improve on this?
I can only imagine 2 years how much you sunk into that. Like that's
Time and money.
Time
and money and opportunity costs for
Right.
time away from my primary business. So these are all like, again, lessons that I said, it's the failures that you learn. So how would I vet that out? What partners would I have brought in? What could I have done to make that opportunity work in a more timely fashion? Because we essentially, part of the problem is we missed the cycle. Selling the product when it's sold to search firms. And search firms this is not a great market to try to sell an additional cost to a search firm.
Right.
The marketplace is challenging, the talent ecosphere. So yeah, missed the window, but learned a ton. I had never understood software, didn't understand coding, didn't understand how to engage vendors in that space, or manage kind of a process of developing software. So I feel more prepared for the next iteration, and there will be another iteration, and I'll be better prepared for it, and I'll have all those lessons now in my tool chest to pull from.
Yeah, I feel like most people when they go through a failure or a disappointment or something like that, it's almost like the world's coming down on them. They feel terrible about themselves, or stressed, or whatever, their hair and teeth are falling out or whatever. Like it's just, but it seems like in your case, it's almost like you encourage it and you try to push yourself to the point where you get to that, because you know that you know that A, people are not going to out effort you, and B, that's where learning takes place, and so like you said, you're better prepared for it the next time around.
Yeah, I think people look at entrepreneurs, and there are very few Zuckerbergs out there that launch a business in college and it becomes the behemoth. That's very, very, very few. If you talk to any, we're an EO entrepreneurs organization here locally. There's 140 entrepreneurs just like myself in the chapter, and I guarantee you every single one of them has multiple failures that has led to the opportunity that they're in right now in a successful business. And if you don't have those failures, I just think it's impossible. But your attitude around how you manage those failures, how you embrace them, what you learn from them, to be able to go back retroactively and say, okay, what was the point? What did I screw up? What could I have done differently? I think you gotta, you kind of do a post-mortem on it and say, just kind of like, all right, how did this die? Why did it die? Yeah, am I responsible for the failure? What should I not lead next time, and what should I outsource?
So obviously, one of the goals of new ambition or new business acquisitions or new business startups is like more wealth, more stability, etc. And I think some people forget that it's the process of doing that. You meet so many people, and you learn so much about that industry and what you were doing, so you can take that to new levels. And maybe those people you met in that catastrophic failure that lost you $1 million. Then you slide over from that, and that same person partners with you on your next business that's buying all these houses after the market crashes, and now you have a real estate empire.
Yep.
It's like people just don't connect the dots because it's almost impossible to connect. You have to listen to people like you and John Bly and other people that have a big story to see those dots in front of you.
Yeah.
That's why I like this so much.
I think a very simple definition of entrepreneurship for me, and I've heard this before. This is not mine. I'm not claiming it, but learn a niche, understand the problems in the niche, figure out a solution, sell the solution. That's entrepreneurship, right? You've got to identify a problem that people are going to want to buy, and the closer you are to a niche and understanding it and where those issues are. I was talking to, we had a pool built last year along with half of America during COVID.
Yeah.
And we've got a problem with our umbrella. And we bought an umbrella, and there's no insert to hold the umbrella in our pool deck. And
Interesting.
It's just for a large umbrella. And I'm talking to Tony, my pool guy. I'm like, how is it? He's like, it's a problem over every pool.
Yeah.
Everybody that has a large umbrella, it's like, okay. And there's no solution for it. These guys have been building pools for 20 years. He's like, this doesn't exist in the marketplace. And anytime I say to myself, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
It's like there's usually
Your wheels are turning.
The wheels are turning.
Yeah.
So anytime you find yourself like looking at a problem or seeing your kid doing something that you go, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Usually there's meat on that bone.
Right.
So why is it interesting?
Yeah.
Peeling back the onion. And those are, I don't know. There's problems exist in every industry.
Yeah. I got to give you my idea. So I just told you about this the other day, but so I have these bed sheets, right? I have this fitted bed sheet, but I also have I call it the game changer. It's the thing that elevates the bed or whatever.
Right.
And so whenever you use it, it always brings the bed sheet up, like the fitted sheet, like it always like pops it off or whatever, right? So what if you made like a strap that holds it down on the thing? So go ahead and take my idea and make millions off it, and buy me a pool stick or something afterwards. But so that's my idea. That's the problem that needs to be solved for sure. And I'm sure it exists out there somewhere.
Yeah,
but
it's got to be.
Yeah.
I don't know how big that marketplace is for expandable sheets, but no, that's it. You kind of say, this is weird.
Yeah.
Why
That's
didn't-
interesting.
Why
Yeah.
did they, it's interesting. Why didn't they solve it?
I always catch trends, and I find myself not able to act on them when I catch them. It was like
I already know what you're going to
3
say.
or 4 years ago.
I already know what you're going to say.
But-
He had the idea for Peloton before Peloton ever existed. I swear on my life he did.
I was sitting here
Yeah.
watching. I was sitting here I was like, we're about to go to the gym, and I was like, wouldn't it
I
be just
swear
so
to-
much
I
more
swear to you I'm
convenient if
telling
we
the
could
truth.
just work out right here?
Yeah.
He's like, that kind of exists on TV. No, I mean like, no. I'm talking like you have your
Live
own-
classes.
Yeah,
that's what he
yeah,
said.
all of it, and then like
2010 he says this.
Yeah,
I'm
and
like,
like-
and me, I'm like, there's no way that's going to work.
then you get $1 billion company that pops
Right.
out of nowhere with Peloton.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh.
So we had, I just left MIT in Boston for this entrepreneurial master's program. We did a 3-hour session on innovation, and it was absolutely, it was a fascinating discussion. I'm not going to forget the guy's name, Pascal somebody. He's also, he's currently, anyway. When you look at cell phone usage, and there's a point to this story. When you look at cell phone usage, the average amount of time that a person looks at a telephone or a digitally connected device, in 2012 and 2013, it just started to go dink, like really explode, go up, where it like, oh wow, it just doubled this year. And had been pretty consistent through 06, 07, 08, 09, 10, and then 12, it went, doop, it jumped up. 13 jumped up more, 14 jumped up, and now we're like averaging over 8 hours per person on a digitally connected device.
Right.
Do you know when Netflix was founded?
My guess would be 2004.
Close. Yeah, it was 06, 07.
Okay.
Kind of that time
Yeah.
frame. But when you look at all YouTube Kid, like all of this stuff started happening 5 years before most of us would go, wow, this is interesting.
Right.
People are really starting to use their phones more. I should start a company that does well. The companies that saw the trend saw it before it was a trend. They saw
Right.
it when it was just like a little ripple in the water.
Yeah.
And that's when they're capitalizing on it. So usually when the greater marketplace goes, wow, this is happening in the marketplace, it's too late.
Yeah.
You got to be very kind of when they're just like little waves.
Yeah.
And
Because they're already testing equipment.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like when I came
They
up
already
with
have
that
things in
idea,
beta.
they were probably starting to talk about it in
Develop the
boardrooms
thing.
and stuff.
Yeah. Interestingly, actually, that just reminds me, we had a marketing consultation with 2 gentlemen that were creating a similar device
yeah.
back in like 2018. I wonder whatever happened to them.
Oh, no.
I don't know. Anyway, we'll take that off here. Did you remember that? Because I literally just thought of that.
That was
like,
a perfect example of somebody had
Yeah.
like this blows my mind. In marketing, this is like the weirdest thing that happens in marketing.
Mm-hmm.
You have somebody who's spent probably hundreds of thousands of dollars coming up with this great idea. Like, I mean, very well thought out idea. Has a good back end and good front end, has good attachments to celebrities, everything you would need. And then when they get to the marketing portion, they're like, God, can we just like launch this on like a $1,200 a month budget for 6 months, and then we can scale up?
And we want to go nationwide. We want to reach 330 million people.
I'm
And
like, no, that's like $1 million budget. What
Right.
are you doing?
Yeah,
Like,
it's super interesting.
I don't know why that happens. It's like they put all of it on the front end and then forget about the launch.
Yeah.
Unless
Yeah.
they get a consultant before, of course.
Right.
Yeah, I think that that's a part of the successes of franchises, though, because they require their franchisees to set aside a certain budget. Like, to build a Planet Fitness everything costs like $600,000.
Don't lie. It used to be 600,000.
Well, it used to be $600,000.
Now it's like 1.4 million.
yeah, but now you have to have $2 million liquid to start to do that, and that's why, because
So
it's hard
franchises
work.
or no franchises? What do you think about franchises?
I think they're for the right person. I think they can solve a lot of the problems like right out
Yeah.
of the gate. Some of the best businesses, particularly like a great person for the podcast here locally would be Sam Morgan. He owns the Weedman franchise, so Weed Care,
Oh
Lawn
my
Care.
God, I would love to have him. I know exactly what that is. He has the trucks that are hilarious that say Weed Man in the right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They say Weed
Oh, you
Man.
sent me a text about that.
Yeah, I always send him the picture because they're
He
hilarious.
said, "Look
'cause they're-
look how audacious this marketing, this guy's marketing is." It said
Oh my
Weed Man.
God, you must introduce us. I
Yeah,
know you know him.
Happy
Like,
to. And he's,
yep.
he's a really good guy.
Yes.
So he'd be happy to come on. But he's got
Yeah.
a franchise. And I think when I was making the entrepreneurial shift, I evaluated a lock business. We looked at car washes. I looked at, but having the infrastructure, having the marketing, having never run or built a business, I think it can be a really safe place. You got to be really careful, and I think even Sam would be an interesting person to talk to on the franchise side because sometimes you don't get the support that you need.
Sure.
And I know Sam has done a lot in building out his own content and marketing plans, et cetera. So there's a lot of places you can do really good research on the franchises themselves, but they can be a great entry point.
I've
for
heard
sure.
I've heard mixed reviews because,
Same.
as you can imagine, we've marketed for all kinds of franchises
Yeah.
before, and Anytime Fitness had some really bad feedback from a lot of their owners. But then you get companies, like Burn Boot Camp, nothing but love. Everybody's like, man, I get nothing but support, like too much support. Like,
Yeah, it's really interesting. It goes back to say that not all paths are the same. There's different.
I wouldn't
journey
be
for
a
everyone.
franchise guy. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
I'm an entrepreneur, but I also like the legacy piece of it, and I feel like a franchise was created by somebody else.
Yeah.
Even at the end of the day, even though I started my own, it's still theirs.
Yeah, the brand is theirs, the name is theirs.
And that gets me. Like, I want it to be mine
That's fair.
or ours.
I think you can. So I've got a foreign mate,
Mainly mine.
close friend that owns a bunch of 1-800 Got Junk franchises, and he's done very well, and it's work. It's not like the franchisor is doing all the work for you. You still got to build it. You got to do the marketing. You got to get out there and get the messaging, and so it's franchising is not an easier path. I think there's some infrastructure and some of the building blocks they help get right out of the gate. But
I'd like to know if he would like to, if he went back in time, with knowing what he knows now, what if he had made his own Got Junk business and launched it instead of asked for the support of a franchise and got a fancy name with it?
Like I said, the paths into entrepreneurship vary significantly.
Very
I think
different.
It depends on the person. It depends on the time in their life when they make the jump. It could be a family-owned business that somebody jumps into, like myself. It could be a Zuckerberg that has an idea in college. It can be a franchise. There's lots of different ways that people get into it, but there's no right or wrong. I think it just depends on the individual
It's
and
just
what
a
they need.
burning path.
I always think about Quiznos when I think about franchises because the reason that Quiznos essentially failed is because they were charging their franchisees just outrageous franchise fees. I think it was like 20% of their EBITDA or something like that.
And they had a terrible workworkflow too. Have you ever gotten a sub from Quiznos?
Well, and then
It's like 10 minutes for the sub to go through the toaster.
Yeah.
You're sitting there staring at it.
But then the last we can talk smack about Quiznos. There aren't any anymore. So no, but the other thing is that in about 2008, I used to love Quiznos, and in about 2008, as a national franchise, they lowered the quality of their ingredients, and so they lost a huge piece of their customer base while they were charging exorbitant franchise fees. And lo and behold, now there's no Quiznos.
Yeah, which is actually insane because that's one of those things where like not always quality matters. Because when they first opened, their food was amazing. Like, I love their subs were better than Subway. Their subs were better than Firehouse subs. Their subs were awesome.
Yeah.
Their process was garbage and their price was garbage.
Yeah.
And it kind of priced them out of the market.
Yeah, I think there's something to that when you're really dependent upon the franchisor, depending on what the agreement states. I mean, if you have to buy and that supply chain, you have to rely on that supply chain. I think there are franchise like the Weedman franchise where you're less dependent on delivery of some specific product. Now I'm sure they get their seed through bigger contracts and you can hopefully benefit from some of this cost savings across all the franchise models. But yeah, I do. I would have hesitation if you're like really married to the parent and you're dependent upon it.
Yeah.
I'm look at Bud Light right now. They're getting hammered.
Yeah.
All the bottlers that are,
Yep.
just getting hammered.
And it's
because of
not
a corporate decision.
It's not. Yeah, exactly. It's not Anheuser. That's exactly what I was about to say. It's not Anheuser-Busch that really pays the price.
I think you
because
owe me $20, by the way.
No. I don't. We'll take that off air. But anyway, we'll tell you all about that off air. And yes, I do owe you $20 anyways. So Anheuser-Busch, it's really not them that has to pay the toll. It's to your point, the bottlers and all the distributors and the people that are loading it on the shelves and so on and so forth. A lot of times it's the small business that pays the price of that stuff. So it's really a shame. Well, David, you've been a spectacular guest, man. I can't wait to talk to you about some more stuff. I think we're on our way out of time, but we always close out with a super funny question. And I think it's going to have to be pool related. So for those of you that don't know, David and I both play in the APA, the amateur pool. So what's the race, man? What are we going to do? What are we going to run here? Let's do it.
You tell me. We'll get together and play. What is your rating?
6.
You're 6.
Yeah.
You're better than I am.
No.
That's
not true.
Let's go do an 8 and 9 ball match just like they would do in an APA match.
Oh, that is so exciting! I can't wait. Well, David, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, man, it's fun.
Do you want to say anything else to the people before we close off here and have a great lunch?
I would just an offer. If anybody is, I speak a good bit on topics like employee engagement, retention, building a great candidate experience during the interview process. I help a lot of our customers do sourcing themselves. Like, how do we go about actually finding talent in the marketplace? And if right now your processes are built around posting to an Indeed and seeing what resumes come in, then I can help you. And I'm happy to have those conversations and kind of open up the kimono a little bit on how recruiters actually do their work. So yeah, reach out to me. It's not a sales pitch, but there's a place I can help an entrepreneur build their business. I'm happy to do it.
Spectacular.
Thank you, man.
Thanks for joining, and congratulations. You are a certified business legend.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.